Hello? Hello? Hello. Uh, Not sure what was happening there. OBS went to 0. Red lines all across the thing. My ad manager thing is broken. Looks okay now. Not sure what happened. It didn't actually interrupt the stream, so we're gonna assume that it was fine. Um, Hi. Hola. Welcome. Selena, you first. Glacier, you're not first. Congratulations to you both. Um, we've got a little bit of lobster stuff left over, and I am going to use all of it today because it's not going to keep any longer. I'm already pushing it. I've given everything the sniff test and it passes, but we're pushing it. The lobster stock is actually passes perfectly. It just smells like lobster, so that's what we want. The lobster butter is a little briny. Not stinky, but like a little briny smelling. So I think I'm taking that as a sign that we want to use it post haste. And what better thing to use it with than shrimp? I got $5 marked down by 40%. So $3 shrimp. It's use it or lose it today, so we're using it today. And that's essentially what the impetus for today's project is. These have to be used up, and this has to be used up. Yeah, and I'm also going to try to control myself and not eat an enormous pile of food because I have been getting a lot of heartburn, and it has happened a lot right after I eat a big pile of food. So we're going to control ourselves a little bit. Let's assemble some ingredients. We need, I'm not really following a recipe, so to speak. I'm going with vibes. Let's grab a red pepper. Let's grab a red pepper. Let's grab a red pepper. Toby, hello. Glad to see you. Welcome in. Red pepper, yellow onion. Probably a little too much onion. Welcome, 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 welcome. So our basis, these three friends. We're going with the, what do they call it? The Trinity, as opposed to the mirepoix of bell pepper, celery, onion. I'm going to use it as a base. I'm going to try to construct some kind of a sauce. These shrimps are pre-cooked, so we can't cook them for very much more, or they will just shrivel up to nothing. And some grits on the side. I think it's going to be a pretty sort of chill day today. How is everyone doing? Need more butter. We've got butter if we need it. Let's see. Milk. I think I'm going to use some Gruyere as well. Proper shrimp and grits want some cheese for the grits. And I am going with Gruyere for that, I think. Oh, and of course, the end of a bag of grits. Probably just cook whatever's in there. finish that out. So let's find out how much is in there. And I can adjust my proportions around that. Hot and cranky, but reading cookbooks on Instant Pots. Good, good. Yeah, it's been quite warm. Thankfully, it seems like the humidity is coming down. A little bit more than a cup of grits, which is perfect because that's about how much I want to proportion out. Oh. Okay, so to our 1 cup, I should do it with water. I should no, I'm gonna do it with milk. To our roughly 1 cup of grits of dry cornmeal, I'm adding 1 cup of liquid to hydrate it up. We're going to use the milk here because this part is going to spend less time on the heat. And the milk has the highest chance of either scorching or boiling over as we inevitably lose track of what we're doing. And I prefer, and I guess this isn't the standard. I always thought this was standard procedure, but I'm learning it's not. Why did I put chopsticks in the, whatever. To hydrate your cornmeal before adding it to the boiling liquids. Because I was just looking at a recipe for shrimp and grits, and it just has the dry cornmeal added directly to the boiling liquids. So, and I will add a bit of salt at this stage as well. So, corn can get nice and hydrated on the side. That will be ready for me whenever I need it. You may notice some staining on my fingers, especially on the thumb ends there. I just peeled a bunch of nuts, and they leave distinct brown stains. We're not using the nuts. I'm actually looking to plant the nuts instead of eat them, but I had to get the husks off, and they gave me some gnarly little stains. But I have scrubbed and washed and scrubbed and gotten under the fingernails and scrubbed again. So it's not coming off, and it's not coming off on anything either. So don't worry, my hands ain't dirty. Hi, Ryuya. Close. Well, technically, yes. A variety of walnut. Butternuts. Which are a variety of walnut. See, we're going to end up using all of these shrimps because they were short dated. They are pre-cooked, so they do keep longer than I think you'd think they would, but still not going to run the risk on these guys. How's it going, Radio? Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Bookwoman, hello, hello. Thank you so much for the Prime sub. Oh my god. 35 months. That's, you know what that is? That's almost a year. You're gonna miss most of the stream. That is perfectly okay. I appreciate you dropping by to say hi. Always good to see you. Glacier. Glacier wants a moisten. I will get you that in un momento. Un momento. Rinse my hands off real quick. Moist. Moist. No, that's good. That's good. I don't do that enough. I end up yapping and forget about drinking, which is why that's there. It's supposed to be a chance for a reminder. We're going to save those tails. We did use up our existing stock of shrimp shells 2 weeks ago, so we are starting a fresh one. So we're starting a fresh one. And then whenever that bag is full, you can make more seafood stock. Hi, little rat babies. How are you? Do they like shrimp? Have some shrimps. Have some shrimps. Let's see. I'm just gonna prep ingredients. We're just gonna casually prep ingredients so that I have a no stress cook today. Because boy, there was some stress. I'm not gonna get into details because I don't think it's appropriate to do so. But there was some stress over the weekend. So we're going to be chill. We're going to get all our Mises plossed. I do. After I freeze them. So what I do with shrimp, with all shellfish shells, not just shrimp, but shrimp is the most common one. I freeze them, save them up in the bag. When the bag is full, I make a batch of stock, and then the then spent shells go in the compost. If you don't want to bother with the stock step, you can just put them right in the compost. It's also, in making stock, you roast them, which helps extract the goodness. Roasting them also helps them break down in the compost. So that's good for them both ways, because if then they get, although they rehydrate, they do rehydrate. So it's not just that it dries them out, but roasting kind of breaks them down a bit. Garobino. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. How's it going? Good day to you. We're just gonna get all of our debris on the board and then take the board over there. The seeds ended up in this one. I don't compost myself. I have a friend who composts and then shares the compost back out. So I just have a bucket in the corner over here with a screw-on lid. That is important. Because it keeps the bugs out, or occasionally in. And then when the bucket's full, I take it over and he dumps it in his big compost pile. Because I don't really have the space for a compost. Because I also don't have really the space for much of a garden. My herb garden's not big enough to warrant a whole compost pile. Shrimp and grits. Am I going to use hot sauce? I'm either going to add some sriracha to the mix or some dried chilies. There should be a spicy element to it. I don't really want to make it super spicy today because the aforementioned I've been having some acid reflux problems. I don't have a Cajun mix. I'm gonna do I'm gonna do my own combo of spices, which we can talk about. Oregano, smoked paprika. I was thinking of throwing in some cumin. I'm not sure what the official Cajun spice mix is, but black pepper and here Cajun spice mix, all recipes. It's got all the recipes. Internet's chugging a little bit. Internet's definitely chugging a little bit. I'm gonna not do random searches. So I guess we're not going to find out what is in a official Cajun spice. At least I'm not. I don't know why I'm doing everything on the smallest board with the smallest knife. There, better. Oregano, smoked paprika, garlic, onion. In my head, it's garlic, onion, smoked paprika, oregano, black pepper. That's what's in my head. There, that's so much faster. Slap your mama. Salt, red pepper, that's the paprika. Black pepper. And garlic. Tony Chachery. Salt, red pepper, black pepper, chili powder, garlic. Silicon dioxide is an anti-clumping agent. So that's not actually a flavor ingredient. Okay, 1 red bell pepper, diced. It might be me today. Oh, I did. I lost about 300 frames just now. So we had an internet blip right at the beginning. I'm soldiering through, but we did just have a blip again. I see it on my tracker over here. So that buffering was probably me. A refresh will catch you up, but it might happen again. So yeah, heads up. I think we're having a little bit of internet instability on my end today. So if I buffer, a refresh will help you catch up. No, I don't think it's going to be a big issue right now, but we do need to keep an eye on it because we did have, right at the start of stream, right when I went live, it gave me a big blip that was probably just seconds away from actually interrupting the feed. So it's possible to get back to that. That's a juicy onion. Damn. Damn. I can get you some silicon dioxide. Silicon dioxide is quartz. It's, it's sand. It's also used as a drying agent because it likes to cling to moisture just enough. That's what's in silica gel. It clings to moisture, so it pulls it in and then holds on to it. So if you get some moisture in the package with the thing, it prevents that moisture from getting at the whatever you're trying to keep. Paprika, garlic powder, black pepper, salt, onion powder, oregano, cayenne pepper, thyme, celery seed, red pepper flake, and cinnamon. I can see cinnamon. They say don't eat the silica gel. You're not supposed to eat the silica gel, mostly because the packet it's in is indigestible fiber. The stuff inside won't poison you. It's not good for you, but it's not like it's going to kill you. You definitely still shouldn't eat it, but I didn't study chemistry. I mean, I did study chemistry as part of my studying. I studied geology. No, what it is it's a desiccant, so it absorbs water. The packet that it's in is designed to be a permeable fiber pouch, and that won't digest, and that thing can get caught in your guts. So the pouch is more dangerous than the actual like stuff, just because it's like a wad of thing that won't break down. The stuff inside isn't good for you, but it's not toxic poisonous. It's more of a mechanical problem. You don't want a bunch of little rocks floating around in your guts. So again, the advice of don't eat it is correct. Don't eat it, but it's not like it's deadly poison. If you think about it, it would be kind of weird if we were allowed to put little packets of deadly poison in our food. What if one of them tears open? I don't know why I went real slow on the celery before. You can cut celery real fast. Okay. Our Trinity actually ended up with quite a lot of that. Perhaps too much. I'm going to get that in a pot and start sweating it down. Getting it in a pot, start sweating it down. This one. Slide over here. Everything is going to be built in this pan from here on. Except for the grits, which are going to be in their own side pan. But all the vegetables, all the shrimp, all that goes in nya. Do I know the Holy Trinity versus the Trinity H? I'm not familiar with the second one. I'm familiar with the first one. From, the Bible. We are adding enough salt to get these guys to start weeping out their moisture. And we're going to hit them on medium low and kind of just ignore them for a while. We'll stir them around occasionally, but we're going to do other ingredients while they get rolling. Namely, some fresh garlic. If I can... If I can smash the head of garlic so that I can get these cloves apart. Put the remainder in our little garlic house. I think four sounds like a good idea because I'm also going to add some powder. Yes, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. The Trinity. That's it there. Bell pepper, onion, celery, garlic. It's developed from the French and Italian, but the French mirepoix. Oh, the Trinity is the 3, the Holy Trinity is the 4. Aha! No, I did not know that specific distinction. Well, we're adding the garlic, but not at the same time. It comes from, well, the name comes from religion, obviously. The name also comes from the fact that you would use those ingredients to start pretty much every dish in Cajun cuisine. But they are based on the mirepoix, or the sofrito, of traditional European cooking, except using the bell pepper, which is a ingredient from the Americas in place of the carrot, which results in a, I think, more savory and less sweet mix. Bell peppers still definitely have sweetness, but carrots, when you cook them in this way, have a surprising amount of sugar that they give up. Justin Wilson. I don't know Justin Wilson. Yeah, bell peppers are from America. All of your capsicum peppers, be them sweet or spicy, are from the Americas. They come from Mexico and Central America, along with tomatoes. And corn. And potatoes. Oh, the potatoes come from Peru. So a bit farther south, but still the Americas. Yes, prior to colonial Europe arriving in the Americas and bringing stuff back, there were no potatoes on the eastern side of the Atlantic. The Vikings never went far enough south to encounter anywhere that had potatoes. Because the Vikings beat the more famous explorers by a long shot, but they were up in the north. They didn't encounter a lot of the things further south that ended up being major economic drivers. But yeah, I know I've talked to a bunch of people who don't realize that potatoes, because potatoes are such a staple of so many European cuisines now, because they are so easy to grow and store and cook with, that they come from Peru. They come from mountainous South America. Mind blown. Okay, I stirred our Trinity around a little bit. We're gonna get the garlic off the board. I wanted the garlic to be a little bit chunkier today, so I went for a mince instead of a. I went for a rough mince because I'm not very good at a nice, even, traditional mince. Instead of pasting it, this way there'll be little bits at the end. So, garlic, lobster butter, shrimp, lobster stock, cornmeal. We're going to need the cheese, and we're going to need our spice mix. So, some garlic powder, some onion powder. My powders have gotten a little bit clumpy. A little bit clumpy. Probably got some humidity in there and didn't address it properly. And The bad oregano, Badia. Well, Lord of the Rings is a mythical thing. So they also had, you know, a tree that glows. So yeah, they had magic potatoes. But yes, it wouldn't be historically accurate to have potatoes in something set in. They got pipeweed. Pipeweed is often equated to marijuana, but isn't marijuana from the Americas too? Actually, I don't. I actually don't know. Tobacco for sure is from the Americas. No, marijuana is from Asia. So they actually could have had. Well, cannabis, ancestral cannabis is from Asia. So that one they could have had. They could not have had tobacco, that being from the Americas. So there you go. Call that proof positive on pipeweed. I dropped an onion on the floor. It's gone now. I don't even see it. Ruining childhood. Bilbo and Gandalf were definitely getting high all the time. We're breaking out the fancy grinder because I'm going to do a mixed. I'm going to do a mixed blend here. That's not the black pepper. This one's the black pepper. An amount of black pepper. An amount of cumin. I don't know how much these are measured out. I'm just eyeballing them. I'm adding cumin. I don't think it's traditional. It takes us into a more Mexican route for sure. And this one takes us who knows where. About that much coriander. Getting some spices going on in here. I'm kind of just making stuff up. Sometimes you just make stuff up. What's everybody else having for dinner? What's everybody else making up? Yeah, the veggies have got to sweat down quite a bit before we move on with them. Okay. This is why I like the idea of this grinder. I can put in multiple spices to be ground and just pop the lid on and grind them, as opposed to the pepper mill, which is great for just putting some pepper on something, but changing out the mix that's in there every time is awkward. Frozen pizza. I mean, sometimes even jovial goes for a frozen pizza. That worked great. Let's see how well ground they are. Let's get that last little bit through. Yeah, there you go. ground spices. For the coriander, it kind of flakes it. But it works really well for the cumin and the black pepper, and I've done it for those before. You are out of ingredients. Well, time to get you some ingredients. And the one that we all mentioned as an important ingredient was on every mix, smoked paprika, which in the absence of tomatoes is going to be our main source of red. I find it hard to gauge cumin. Fair enough. It is one of those ones where I find it like thyme. I have that same thought with thyme. I think thyme rapidly overwhelms. Speaking of thyme, I'm going to add a little bit of thyme. I think thyme rapidly overwhelms dishes. So I'm going to add just a smidge of that. But yeah, I can see that happening with cumin. If you toast the cumin before grinding it, you can get away with using less. I find, which gives you, I think, a little bit more control, because then you can add just a pinch later on. Cumin also really wants to be with other things. Cumin's one of those ones where I don't really like it by itself. It wants to be in a mixture. There's no, other than black pepper, there's no spicy element to this yet. But there should be. Am I going with one of the million bottles of sriracha, or am I going with a red pepper? I think we're going with a pepper. I think we're going with one chile de árbol. It's getting spices just right takes, unfortunately, practice. It can be very harsh if you're making a spice blend and you're making a big batch of it, because that can get very expensive. If you use up a bunch of spices and you're like, dang, the one thing ruined it. Cloves do that. There's a reason recipes will call for a specific number of cloves, because those things will just slice straight through pretty much whatever. They're a very nice flavor, but you've got to be real careful with them. I'm gonna knock the seeds out of this chile de árbol just to well, I'm gonna knock most of the seeds out of this chile de árbol. To mitigate its heat a bit. Because again, some heartburn issues lately. I don't want to aggravate it unduly, but I want a little bit of spice. So, a little bit of spice. You screwed up pumpkin spice with too much clove. Unfortunate. The way to fix that, of course, is to just add a ton of everything else to restore the balance. Here we go. Okay. Looks like I got one seed that made it through. And I'm going to take that stuff, our shaved pepper here. And I'm actually going to plunk it right in our in our pan if we slide over. Those guys can start infusing right off the bat. A lot of moisture left in that pan. We'll tell you what. Oh, we're gonna have to make a little. We're gonna have to make a little roux on the side. I don't want to make don't think I want to build the roux right here in the pan. We do need some cheese though, so we're still going to let that simmer away while I do the cheese next. Get out your cheese box. I don't want to make the roux in the veggies because when you make the roux in the presence of moisture, it'll immediately start to hydrate. And I want the roux to cook in just the fat first. And I'm not going to cook the veggies down to the point where they're completely dehydrated. So they're going to be continually sort of expressing moisture, and I want to make the roux a little bit browner. I don't want to just do a blonde roux. I want to get a little bit of flavor in there. So it means I want to cook it a little bit more in just butter before I add it to the thing. Cheers. Cheers. But yeah, like a gumbo roux, I'm not going to go that far with it. I'm not going to make a dark roux. We have gone that far with it. It's a little bit touchy, but dang, is it delicious. I made a dark brown roux for a full-on traditional gumbo once. It was the color of dark chocolate. I was afraid I'd burned it, but when I tasted it, it didn't have any acrid flavor to it. It was not burned. It was just beautiful. I don't know that I could do it consistently. I definitely kind of stood there and stared at it and tended it and stared at it and tended it, just to make sure I didn't burn it. But yeah, because you can take it all the way to the very edge of turning jet black without burning it, as long as you're real careful and real slow and real attentive. Okay. Cheers. I don't know how much that is. It was one of those end chunks. That was Gruyere end cuts. So the bits they chop off when they want to make your nice square cheese pieces for sale, just like they did with bacon, they cut the ends off. And one of my local grocery stores has a whole bin of just, they got all the end cuts from one of the brands and are selling them. So they're these sort of weird irregular pieces, but they still taste just the same. So I got some. So yeah, we're using Gruyere for that. That'll be part of the grits. So we've got all our spices. Probably not going to use the lobster butter to make the roux because I don't want to like scorch the lobster part of it. This, by the way, is our lobster butter from Now 2 weeks ago. So I'm kind of pushing the limits on how long I should have held on to that. But I wanted to use it for streams. This was when we cracked open that lobster that we got 2 weeks ago. We found that it was full of roe. So we got a bonus. And if we're getting a lobster, because this is so expensive these days, even though it was a discount lobster, we're using every part of it. That's where our lobster stock came from. It's where our lobster butter came from. But I'm not sure what element I'm going to put it in. Do I want to put it in the shrimp as a finishing butter? You know, because you throw in some butter right at the end to like gloss it up. Or I could throw it in the grits. And then the little red lobster dots would be all throughout the grits. And then again, I could throw that in at the end so that I don't burn it in the process. Throw it in with the cheese. I don't know. Either way, it's going in at the end of one of the two things. The pan is looking a lot better. If we slide back over, we've lost a lot of volume. Things are getting real softened down. I'm seeing more of just the oil. And less of the wet from the vegetables. If I was just going with a blonde roux, I'd be happy to build that in this pan because there's not a ton of moisture in there. It wouldn't really affect much. But we're getting out of pan, we're going to build a roux in that pan. How much of this stuff do I have? A cup and a half. Okay. So let's see, I've got 3 tablespoons of butter. If I take half of that, so a 1.5 of butter on a gentle heat to get it melting. Lobster flavored grit. Right? They're both such good ideas. I'm not sure. It would work in both places. I also have 2 places I could use the lobster stock. I'm leaning towards using the lobster stock here. To combine with the roux. But I could also use the lobster stock as liquid for the grits. I think the lobster stock is better served here. I kind of want to just jam. I don't know. We're gonna play. We're gonna. I guess we're probably gonna decide when we get that far. Is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna throw in my spices and my garlic. Whoa! Okay, tell you what I smell. Tell you what I smell immediately when I put those in there. Coriander. Lots of it. Now I smell garlic. Whoa! Boy, that smells really good. Boy, that smells very good. What do the rest of you guys think? For placement of our two lobstery components, we have each of them. We could concentrate them all in the main thing with the shrimp and really amp up the seafoodiness. Or we could split it out and add one or the other of them, or theoretically both, to the grits. I'm personally leaning towards adding them all here and keeping the grits more of a neutral. Especially since I am adding cheese and milk to the grits. Ooh-wee. That was quite the thing. We're also getting to the point where I should add liquid to this soon. Because now that that stuff's in there, it's going to want to gut feeling. Well, the one that we have to decide right now is what kind of liquid I'm going to add to this at this stage. And I think that's going to be lobster stock right now. So we still have time to think about the butter. The lobster stock is going in this pan right now. Homemade lobster stock, and it is an unsalted lobster stock because I didn't add salt when I was making it, which is important for something like this where I added quite a lot of salt to the vegetables. If I then added more salt by having a stock, we'd be running into a too much salt scenario, which is one of the big benefits of making your own stock. Although the downside of making your own stock without salt is that unsalted stuff doesn't last as long. Salt is not just a flavoring, it's also a preservative. Okay. And our temperature comes up on that so that we can get it up to a simmer. Toby wants them to keep them separated. I tend to agree. I think we're going to use the lobster butter as a finishing butter on this. Although that means there's going to be a lot of butter in this. Speaking of butter, our butter is melted. So we add our flour and we grab we can use this whisk. Ooh. Get out a separate spatula so that I can control this guy a little bit. Okay, that gonna go foamy. It's gonna start turning color. Any shopping at the thrift store lately? See, I got some cheap ingredients today. Did I thrift anything recently? I don't think so. I can't afford, as much as I love thrifting stuff, I can't actually afford to thrift constantly because I end up with more stuff than I need. Anything? Yeah, what I did find. It's not a thrift store thing. It's not a thrift store thing. It's instant oatmeal for a 10-pack for 25 cents. That's a ridiculous price. That's a ridiculous price. I guess the most recently thrifted thing that you guys would interface with is the spice grinder. I think it's the spice grinder we just used. Yeah, I'm just looking around to see if anything's sitting here. Then, like, oh yeah, that. But no, I don't think so. Oh, I got a pair of shoes. Again, you guys wouldn't really interact with the pair of shoes, but I did get a pair of shoes that fit me pretty well. Okay, our roux is starting to turn color. We're at a nice sort of latte foam brown. Where'd I put the, oh, there's the lid to the flour. Let's see, I also need to get a pot out because I need to also make grits. When I find real goodies, I'll let you know. The good goods. You know what we could do? Yeah, we'll do it with chicken. We'll do it with chicken powder. Ooh. Even better. Even better. Chicken tomato bouillon powder. I'm going to add a little bit of that to the grits water so that we're not adding a fish element over there, but we are adding a little bit of a savoriness that we would get from a stock. So just a spoonful of that. It'll also give it a little bit of nice color. A little bit of nice color on the back end of it. Three cups water, bring to a boil. Our roux has gradually turned into a nice sort of medium brown. I don't know if you guys were actively watching it. I certainly wasn't. I looked over and was like, oh, quite brown, isn't it? I think I'm going to take it just a hair further, but not too much. Let's stir this around, make sure nothing's out of the order here. Can't wait to try it. Yeah, I'll shove it right through the. No. Lamb bouillon. I've never seen that. I've seen. Obviously, I've seen beef, chicken, pork, shrimp, and tomato. Those are the ones that I've seen. I've gone actively looking for mushroom, and the closest I've found was not chicken bouillon. And if you look at the ingredients, it's made with mostly mushrooms. But like a mushroom powder to just throw in as a savory enhancer, a savoriness enhancer, that would be something I would go for. That has gotten dark to the point where I no longer wish to push it. Oh God, look at the color. Look at the color on that. It's like coffee. It's hotter than the stuff I'm adding it to. That's something I should have thought about. Because of course it is. Because there's no water in the roux, so it's as hot as the fat will allow it to be, even though I had it on a low heat. It also means we can take the heat down on this. Okay, and the darker you make your roux, the less thickening power it has. So you either add more of it, which is great for flavor reasons, or you cook it out a little bit after adding it to reduce the amount of liquid that it has to fight with. Yeah, I wasn't expecting the sharp sizzle when it landed on the top. So I forgot that it would, of course, be slightly hotter on account of it having no water in it. With the heat down on this is just going to kind of simmer. I'm going to throw the shrimp in kind of late on that part because, again, the shrimp is already cooked. So I don't want to cook it too much more or we'll make them all shriveled up and rubbery. So we just kind of want them to be in there long enough to get up to temp with the stuff. And in fact, if I do a swapsies here, and to actually turn that back burner off because it was running hot to try to get this guy to boil. But we can do a swapsies and we can do the grits right on the front here. Yes, I want them to be heated up, but I don't want them. They're already cooked, so I don't want to. They don't need to get boiled again. Exactly. Normally, I buy raw shrimp. This is just because I got the little $5 pack marked down to $3 of pre-cooked shrimp. So I was like, that sounds like a good deal. That sounds like what I'll go for today. So that's what I went for. But what we're currently doing is bringing this water here, up. And also bring the temperature back down because we're going to add something to it and I don't want it to immediately boil over. Wow, that pan is still hot. Okay. And then we have have to stir it to ensure that it doesn't do that. Form just lumps on the bottom. It will try to, but that's part of why I always fully hydrate my cornmeal before I add it to the liquid, because that helps prevent aggressive clumping, which I find corn wants to do when you add it directly to hot. You add dry corn directly to hot liquid. We're starting to thicken. We're starting to thicken. The northern shrimps, they're like tiny shrimps. I have gotten a hold of some Gulf shrimp. They're more expensive, for sure, than like the mass-produced ones, which come largely from East Asia, from shrimp farms, which has its own set of problems. But what I find with the Gulf shrimp is they're so flavorful. The wild-caught Gulf shrimp are so flavorful that you add way less of them. So the fact that they cost a lot more kind of balances out with the fact that you put just a tiny fraction of the amount of shrimp in a given dish, and it still tastes way shrimpier. Take the heat down on this one too. Making sure that none of that cheese sank to the bottom. We're thickened to the point where I like the looks of this. It's going to keep thickening. If it ends up too thick, I can always add a little bit of water to it just to loosen it up. I think I can probably take the heat off though. I just want to make sure that the cheese doesn't stick, separate, clump, whatever. The color is really nice, and that's the tomato. The tomato bouillon is giving it this lovely, I mean, almost Caucasian tone. So I've got some Gulf shrimp. We didn't use them today because we were doing something else, but I do have some still in here, and they're mighty tasty, and I think they might take over my Target shrimp when I buy shrimp. That stuff sounds done. This stuff is still a little bit juicy. We don't want it to be like super, super thick. But that's probably about where I want it. I can drag through it and it forms a nice streak. So it's thick enough. It's a good sort of juicy thing, so it'll drape over the top of our grits, but also not just be soup. I'm adding all of our lobster butter to it though, because lobster butter. So we have to at least let it cook long enough to melt in all the lobster butter. And then I'll add the shrimp, stir that in, and then I think we're on to service. I should slice up some scallions for a topping. I should also not boil my... Okay, I'm gonna let that just sort of heat through and melt the butter. Grab the scallion. We do not need all the scallions. I think we're going to take think we're going to take two. We're going to take the big one. We're going to take one. It's going to be the biggest one in the bunch. And a leaf that tore off. So we're going to use it plus one leaf. Scallion, I did the thing where I didn't cut those quite through. Okay, well, too late now. Raised on cat food? They actually use cat food? I feel like cat food's more expensive than than they would make from the shrimp at the end of it. I thought they fed them with waste from other farms, like bits of fish that they have to throw away, fish skeletons and stuff. Okay, that's melted in. I think it's given us a nice gloss. I'm gonna fully take the heat off and add all of our shrimp. The shrimp being cold should take us off of any sort of bubbling phase very quickly. But the shrimps being small should also heat them through effectively. It certainly smells lobstery with that lobster butter in there. Boy, that lobster was a really, really good investment. That was the $7 lobster? No, that was the $7 lobster. Right? I forget. I have to go back. And check. I forget how much that lobster cost. It was a discount lobster. It was a use it or lose it bargain bin whole cooked lobster. And darn if that thing didn't end up being a really good investment. I've used it now for 3 weeks. And if I didn't use the stock today, we definitely would have had to freeze it. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all she wrote. Sort of a nice chill day, showing you how to cook some delicious thing. I didn't taste this at all. If you're making this at home, for cripe's sake, don't do what I did and taste your food along the way. Taste your food as you're cooking it. Don't just trust. It's one of the worst sins, and I do it all the time, is not tasting as you go. Especially for salt. We should. Oh. You know what? It's not oversalted. Taste this. Oop, that has formed a pudding skin. Oh my god. Oh, this is gonna be good. Okay, I'm not adding any salt because there's definitely enough salt in the grits. That is so good. Oh my god. Oh my god. What am I gonna serve it? Oh, guys, what plate? Oh my god, it's so delicious. I want to talk about it, but I want to plate it first. What plate do we pick? What plate do I pick? I think it's thick enough that I could choose an actual plate and sort of drape, but it's soupy enough that I could choose a shallow bowl and also have a really nice sort of drape on the plating. I'm leaning towards this guy because an appropriately sized serving in that bowl is not overeating. And I'm tempted, if I use the big bowl, I would definitely think overeat this stuff. Alternatively, the black bowl is a similar volume. I think that's what we're looking at, the choice between these two. Anything else I think would be a little bit underwhelming. The fact that the grits has come out a lovely orange. This one's not a bowl, it's a plate, but we could serve on a plate. It would be a little bit of a mess to eat, I think. I think I'm going with the I think I'll go with the black bowl. I think I'm going with the black bowl because the roux around the shrimp is already brown. And I think that's going to make it not stand out on the brown bowl. So I think our winner is the black bowl. Where's my spoon? Where's my spoon? Okay. First thing. Two big, generous scoops of our grits. 2.5. A little bit on the side there. Tuck that down from the, because the top forms a little bit of a skin, just because of the thickening powers of all the stuff we added to it. And then, well, I wanted to use that same spoon. I guess we're going to have to use a ladle, because I want to drape the shrimp part over the top, which means I need a scooper. There, and that's a full bowl as well. For artistic reasons, let's bring some of our shrimps to the top. They did shrink just a little bit, but of course, it's kind of unavoidable. We did have to reheat them. And then a topping of our green onions. Ta-da! I want the juices to even out a little bit. Ta-da! That's my personal take on the shrimp and grits. I'm going to go take a photo, and we will come back and we will do the tasting. Everyone's favorite part, when I get to eat food and tell you about the food, and you don't get to eat the food. Everyone loves that last bit, where I get to eat the food. And I'm going to need a spoon. It looks pretty good, and I think serving it in the small bowl is good, because I would definitely would demolish a large bowl of this, and then I would feel bad. Coming back. Gotta be careful with this thing. It's a little over full on the bowl. There we go. Now, the moment of truth. Did I ruin it? It's always possible. We've done it a few times where I just didn't do it right. Oh, the lobster comes through. Ooh, the lobster comes through. Not right away. Not right off the top, but it comes through. It sort of, it's one of the, like, the secondary players, which is excellent. Ooh. It's savory, it's spicy, it's very rich. It's very rich, but I could feel like I could just spoon this thing down too. Interesting that the lobster doesn't come through right away, but it comes through sort of on the back note. The grits have a lovely creaminess to them. When I tasted them by themselves, for seasoning, they have this lovely, gentle creaminess to them. With just a little bit of that cheesy sort of, you know, because Gruyere is like an aged cheese, so it's got a little bit of that aged cheese funk to it. And that's quite a lot of grits, so it doesn't come through super strong, but it adds this just light dimension to it. Which is an excellent counterpoint, because the actual stuff here ended up being a little on the spicy side, and having a creamy base to it balances it out really well. I could also see adding like a dollop of sour cream if you wanted to tone the spice down a little bit more. That also just might be a nice addition. Just a little, like, you know, a quenelle of sour cream on the top. The shrimp are definitely not overcooked, which is good. But they're also definitely heated through. So just throwing them in off the heat right at the end, exactly what they needed. Otherwise, yeah, we've the flavors meld together really well. The vegetables are all pretty much cooked down into just being part of the sauce. They don't even give you resistance on your teeth when you bite through them. So they may as well just be a component of the sauce. You could add more cheese, but I think sometimes the gentle touch wins the day. But I think we added the lobster at the right part too. Having it just sort of come in at the end, just a little bit, just gives you some dimension. And some scallions on top for some little burst of freshness. It's real tasty. It was real easy. I mean, you saw me do it. It didn't even take us with my yapping. It didn't even take us an hour and a half. I don't know what more to say. I didn't. I wasn't exactly breaking new ground today with the. Oh, this is a perennial problem where people ask for recipes. People do ask for recipes, and occasionally I will write one down and send it along. I need a repository. I need to write down my recipes. I need to go back through my own archives, watch stuff, and remember my recipes. Having everything recorded helps a ton. But there are definitely some where I've tweaked a recipe and I've got a recipe and I haven't written them down. I don't have them all in one place. And I really should do that. I should just put together the recipe website and be like, this is my recipe. Here's a video of me making it. But I'm a massive procrastinator. So that's why that doesn't happen. That's why that has not yet happened. You've been improving your cooking in all your tweaks, considering your own cookbook just to remember what you did. Well, the fact that I record and save all of these means I can always go back and remind myself. I've definitely gotten a lot better over the course of doing this program. I recognize it. People say that my plating has gotten way better. I don't know, man. I think the plating comes down to put stuff on top of other stuff and make sure there's something green on the very top. And that takes care of like 99% of plating. Layers, something green. But I take the compliment. Like, oh, you're so good at plating. Yeah. So, I think I got a good balance on my spices. The coriander might be just a little bit too much, but it's not overwhelming. It's just like every once in a while I'll get a little, coriander, which you don't really want an individual spice to poke its head up and say, here I am. You want them to play nice. So the fact that that one is just every once in a while being like, yo, remember, there's coriander. Probably means I added a little bit too much coriander. But yeah, otherwise, I think we're gonna wrap it just an hour and a half today. We didn't have any more blips. We didn't lose any more frames since that one early on. So it looks like things did stabilize in the end, which is good. In theory, there should be a better internet service coming into my neighborhood very soon, but they have yet to tell me when. Thank you, Toby, and good to see you. We're here most of the time. Not every time. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can't wrangle it. The cheese in the grits is a very good idea. Cornmeal mush I like it. It's tasty. It's a terrible name, but it's tasty. To make it into true grits, true grit, to make it into real like Southern grits, you gotta add the dairy, you gotta add the cheese, you gotta amp it up a little bit. Real Southern grits aren't just boiled cornmeal. As much as I like boiled cornmeal. TDS is supposed to be moving into the neighborhood soon. I asked them. They said, "Oh, they should be in your neighborhood by November." I asked them in the spring. Well, now it's the end of September and they're not here yet. So hopefully soon. And then I can say, hey, I would like your superior internet. I think they might be almost here because I started getting ads from Spectrum. I started getting ads from Spectrum where they're offering gigabit internet for $40 a month, which is a way better deal than they've ever offered me before. It is. I don't want to stick with Spectrum because, boy, am I sick of them. But it is such a big jump over what they've been offering. That super sounds like they're bracing for TDS to sweep into the neighborhood as well. Yeah, but winter won't be here until January, so I got months. Um, it does look a lot like a curry, and from my own having cooked a whole bunch of stuff, I can tell you a lot of Cajun and Creole dishes use the same techniques as Indian and Thai and Vietnamese and like the curry, the curry end of the world. A lot of those techniques are almost the same thing. They're using different ingredients, but they're using very similar techniques. So yeah, it definitely cooks like a curry, looks like a curry, doesn't taste at all like a curry. Um, but that's a common thing. I mean, really good techniques, cultures all over the world will hit on them. There's a reason everybody in the world invented bread. Everybody in the world invented some kind of bread, because bread is a good idea. This, a sort of stewed together spices and vegetables and then some protein at the end, served on top of a starchy base. It's a really good idea. You take whatever you got handy and you make this out of it. Anyways, I am going to wrap this up. Let's see who's on. Oops, I just pushed the ad button. Stop. 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 Damn it. The ad button, you can't hear me anymore. Crap. Well, I guess I'll think about our raid. Apologies. Apologies for the ad. I'm going to take this opportunity to look through our list here, see where we can go. Dinner with Mom, Squirrel. Jen is still on for a change. Oh, I think we beat Chef. Let's go see Mom. Mom's just starting. You can still hear me. Okay. Sometimes the ad plays differently so that there's an inset instead of a full overlay, and I don't know how Twitch decides which kind of ads to deliver at any given time. Once our ad is done, because I can't do, literally won't let me do this while there's an ad running. Or will it? Maybe it will. We're gonna go raid Dinner with Mom. Mom and Dad. Another chef here on the old Twitch, currently making pumpkin blondies. 13 seconds, and then I'll hit this button, and then there'll be another minute countdown. Thank you. It is definitely a tasty dish. I'm going to really enjoy it. I'm probably going to get 2 leftover dishes out of it as well. So meals for two more times. Okay, get our raid going. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for hanging out. Good to see you all. Get my face up there. I did promise last time that I would have something here. And I have the thing that goes here, but none of the stores in town have the kind of magnets that I need to hold it up. So I can show you it, In fact, I will show you it. But I can't hold it up on the thing because nobody has strong magnets. I suspect they might be tied up in tariffs. This is supposed to go here. Right there. Might have to adjust the camera a little bit so you can see it better. Because then I can have today's special. I thought that was a good idea. But I needed magnets to hold that up. Here's our end of our countdown. Yeah, like I said, thanks for showing up. Thanks for sticking around. Have a nice evening. Have a nice dinner. See you next time. I think it's going to be a busy week around here, so probably no bonus streams, but bye.